It started with a flicker. Just a blip on a dozen orbital defense sensors. Nothing major, easily dismissed as solar interference. Earth had become good at ignoring the galaxy's problems. After all, humanity had chosen isolation over interstellar politics. While the galaxy burned with ancient feuds and high-tech holy wars, Earth watched from behind the solar curtain, sipping coffee and streaming vintage media on quantum devices. But peace, as always, was just ignorance in disguise. Lieutenant Commander Raina Holt stared at the sky from her station on Armstrong Spire, the tallest orbital observation post tethered to Earth's equator by carbon filament elevators. She had served 10 years in Earth's defense array and never seen a genuine alert. Plenty of drills. False pings. The occasional debris field. But this was different. Raina, came the voice of Captain Singh through the comms, tight with concern. Patch into satellite net 3. There's an object decelerating near Luna's shadow. It's not responding to standard IFF queries. Raina's fingers danced across the holographic interface. The display adjusted, zooming through orbit layers until it found the anomaly. Her eyes narrowed. It wasn't a ship. Not a ship as humanity knew them, at least. Its silhouette was jagged, irregular, like a floating cathedral torn from the crust of a dying planet. The structure emitted no discernible power signature, yet it moved deliberately, using gravitational eddies like an old sailor tacking against the wind. And it was huge. Bigger than anything Earth had seen this side of the Kuiper Belt. "I don't like this," Raina muttered. "You're not supposed to," Singh replied. "Directive 9 is in effect. Lock the skies. Nothing in. Nothing out." 2 hours later, the world was watching. News broke through every info feed. Unknown object breaching Earth's orbital space. Panic blossomed in predictable places. Doomsday cults screamed vindication. Tech billionaires live-streamed their bug-outs. The global net surged with theories, wild speculation, and desperate hope. But it wasn't a first contact. Not really. See, Earth knew of the galaxy's wars. We'd just chosen to stay out of them. After the archival peace accords failed and the Xeric War reignited near the Sagittarius Rim, Earth had cut ties. Even after the Varn Dominion offered protection, even when the Enar Collective begged for human alliance, Earth said no. No to alliances. No to war. No to becoming anyone's cannon fodder. Because history had taught us something. Empires don't want equals. They want tools. Weapons. Shields. Pawns. So we watched. Waited. Built in silence. But now the war had come to us. At Defense Core Zero, deep beneath Antarctica, General Miriam Voss watched the silent footage from every angle. Her desk was littered with decrypted messages pulled from wideband alien channels. "They're not just passing through," she whispered. Across from her sat Dr. Elliot Marrow, chief xenostrategist and former ambassador to the Galactic Senate. "No. They're hunting," he replied grimly. "And they found something near Earth." "What?" Marrow leaned forward. "Something the rest of the galaxy has forgotten we even had." "Earth's legacy?" He nodded. "Our silence made them forget. But silence isn't absence. And that ship, they didn't come here by mistake." General Voss frowned. "Launch observation drones. Arm orbital stations. Scramble Skyguard." "Wait," Marrow interjected. "If that's a Xeric Harrow ship, and I think it is, then escalating now might trigger." Voss slammed her fist down. "They entered Earth's airspace. Earth. I don't care if it's a Xeric Death Priest or a lost cargo drone, we don't ignore orbital incursions." Marrow stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. "I'll notify UNISOC. But if this is war, General?" He paused, looking through the steel glass viewport at the blue sphere hanging above the Antarctic horizon. "The galaxy has no idea what we've been preparing." The breach happened at 3:47 Universal Time Coordinated. All 12 orbital defense nodes tracked the object as it passed beneath geostationary orbits, slicing through the mesosphere like a rusted dagger. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't issue warnings. It simply descended, silently, toward Earth's atmosphere. Then it split. Hundreds of black shards broke off from the main structure, each tumbling like meteors toward different corners of the globe. One struck the Nevada desert. Another impacted deep in the Amazon basin. A third detonated over Central Africa. An EMP pulse took out 6 communication satellites. Civilian networks collapsed. Military command went dark. For 90 seconds the Earth went offline. And then came the screams. Raina Holt was rerouted to North American Command within minutes. By the time her boots hit the underground tarmac of Cheyenne Bunker, she was already running through sat-feed replays. What the hell are those things? She barked. Not drones, said Major Lin, handing her a data slab. Too big. Too fast. Too smart. The screen showed grainy footage of an Arizona outpost. One of the shards had unfolded into a biomechanical structure, fusing with the ground like a parasitic spire. Dozens of tall, skeletal entities poured from its base, moving with jerky, unnatural speed. They weren't human, but they looked like us. Facial mimicry? Reyna asked, horrified. Worse. Identity cloning, Lin muttered. They're not just copying our form. They're borrowing people. On screen, a soldier was tackled by one of the creatures. In seconds, it reshaped itself, skin morphing, bones cracking, eyes mimicking the terrified man it just consumed. And then it smiled. Back in orbit, Earth's remaining satellites captured terrifying data. The original structure, the so-called Harrow ship, was growing. It remained in geosynchronous orbit above the Pacific, slowly unfolding like a night-blooming flower. Tendrils reached outward, tapping into satellites, draining power from solar networks, hijacking communication hubs. And inside those tendrils, something moved. General Voss watched from Core Zero, jaw clenched. They're terraforming our orbit, she said. No, Dr. Marrow replied, voice tight. They're replicating. That Harrow ship was just the seed. Voss stared in silence. Then she whispered, time to wake it up. For years, Earth's defense protocols had included a last resort contingency, a ship buried beneath the Mariana Trench. A vessel built in silence. Powered by technology Earth had reverse-engineered from the galaxy's own secrets before closing its doors. The Aegis Vander was never meant to fly. Not unless Earth was under direct threat. Not unless the stars themselves came hunting. Now humanity had no choice. Voss sent the signal. In the depths of the ocean, pressure sensors lit up. Vaults the size of cities shuddered open. Old reactors, dark for decades, roared back to life. Hydrostatic turbines spun into motion. The ocean boiled. Then it rose. A shape tore from the trench, titanic, obsidian, and alive with fury. It screamed into the sky, cloaked in blue fire and lightning. And as the Harrow ship pulsed above the Pacific, the Aegis Vanter answered. Humanity was done watching. The sea was on fire. Not from oil or flame, but from raw kinetic energy erupting in concentric shock waves as the Aegis Vanter rose from the Mariana Trench. Salt water boiled off its hull. Deep sea pressure warped into blue plasma around its anti-gravity shrouds. It didn't emerge like a ship. It rose like a statement. 6 kilometers long, layered in armor darker than moonless void, the Vanter's surface shimmered with zero-point lattice tech. No windows. No decorative flares. Just pure, brutalist human design built with one purpose in mind, war. It didn't broadcast. It didn't warn. It ascended. From the Pacific Islands to the American West Coast, millions stopped and stared skyward as a new shadow eclipsed the morning sun. Not an invader, but something more terrifying to those watching from orbit. A countermeasure. Signal re-established with command, Reyna Holt confirmed, gripping the armrests of her orbital dropship. The Vanter is online. Good, replied General Voss. Her face was carved from stone. Then let's see how these bastards like Earth's idea of diplomacy. The Aegis Vanter didn't wait for clearance. It moved on instincts programmed into its core by the most paranoid human minds the world had ever produced. Threat matrices unfolded across multiple dimensions. Quantum AI sent ripples through time-local buffers, calculating likely outcomes before enemies even acted. Within 2 minutes of breaching the clouds, it targeted the Harrow ship. And it spoke. Not with language. With action. The Harrow ship had begun its metamorphosis, arms of living alloy stretching across orbit, weaving energy webs that snared satellites like spider silk. Pulses moved along the tendrils, dark code, corruptive signals, each rewriting the machine minds they touched. Earth's own defense net was being turned against it. But the Aegis Vander was not part of that system. It was off-grid. Built to remain silent until absolutely necessary. It cut through the outer atmosphere at Mach 14, powered by a black fusion engine that violated half a dozen galactic energy treaties. As it passed 70,000 feet, 6 hull plates disengaged and slid apart. From within, a weapon array no alien species had ever seen, because no human government had ever admitted it existed, began to bloom. Cyclone Lance ready, said the onboard AI, WR9. Fire, said Voss. The beam didn't shine like plasma. It didn't shimmer like ion. It didn't crackle like antimatter. It screamed. A narrow stream of compressed gravity fused with hypersynchronized kinetic oscillation ripped through orbit and smashed directly into the Harrowship's central spine. Space twisted. Vacuum howled. Debris folded inward before violently detonating outward. Half the Harrowship ceased to exist. But the other half, wounded, bleeding black steam into the void, moved. For the first time, the alien invaders responded. The war had begun. "They've gone active," Reyna muttered as the command deck lit up with threat signatures. Multiple enemy signatures emerging from orbital fragments. "More shards?" Major Lin asked. Reyna's screen flashed. "No. Something else." The debris fields began to spiral unnaturally, caught in a kind of anti-Newtonian physics that made no sense. From the wreckage of the Harrowship's body, figures were forming. Not ships. Not drones. Creatures. They were forged from broken alloy and weaponized biology. Twisted into humanoid shapes with elongated limbs, serrated jaws, and magnetic fields that bent bullets mid-flight. Worse, each one was wrapped in memory skin tech. They still wore the faces of the humans they'd absorbed during the atmospheric shard incursions. "Sir, they're using our faces," said a young officer behind Reyna. His voice cracked. "That one looks like my brother." Reyna didn't blink. "Then shoot twice." The Vanter unleashed its hangars. From its underbelly, dozens of zero-atmospheric strike pods launched, each carrying elite Gravmarines trained for exo-boarding, orbital dive combat and close-quarter war inside metal husks. Their armor, black ceramic infused with radiation-reflective mesh, made them ghosts on alien sensors. And they were angry. No longer watchers. No longer neutral. Each Marine carried disruptor blades forged in Earth's Martian outposts, plasma repeaters with manual overrides, and a dose of neural surge that would let them keep fighting 30 seconds after clinical death. This was Earth's first message. "We may be late to your war, but we brought hell with us." In orbit, the fight turned feral. Alien constructs swarmed Earth's upper thermosphere, weaving webs between crumbling satellites, creating kill zones of shrapnel and kinetic kill pods. But the Vanter did not flinch. Its armor peeled open to reveal autocannons large enough to vaporize a destroyer with a single round. It didn't fire lasers. It launched mass. And when mass moves at 12 kilometers per second, it doesn't matter how advanced your shields are. The Vanter spinal railguns fired slugs the size of minivans into enemy positions, each one guided by quantum entanglement targeting. Each impact tore gravity pockets in the surrounding air, pulling debris, bodies, and energy into violent implosions. And then came the silence. But only for a moment. The Harrowship, or what was left of it, began to change again. Its remaining structure morphed inward, then bloomed outward into a fractal star. Spikes of obsidian curled through dimensions Earth had no name for. The Aegis Vanter sensors screamed nonsense. Locations folding in on themselves, enemy signals echoing from 6 directions simultaneously. Dr. Marrow stared at the feed in horror. "They're not trying to win," he whispered. "They're trying to infect." Voss turned to him sharply. "Infect what?" "Our orbit. Our reality." The Harrowship had been a scout, but also a seed. Earth wasn't just being invaded. It was being rewritten. On the ground, chaos reigned. The shard that landed in the Amazon had transformed into a towering spire, radiating pulses that drove nearby fauna into a frenzy. Creatures, both native and mutated by the shard's influence, swarmed human settlements with unnatural rage. Forests burned. Rivers turned black. Air shimmered with anti-organic toxins. In Nevada, survivors from the original impact were gathering around a makeshift safe zone established by the 7th Skyguard Battalion. But the terrain was changing. Sand turned to glass. Gravity fluctuated randomly. People floated, screamed, then vanished as reality flickered like a dying bulb. This wasn't a war of conquest. It was assimilation. But humanity had one trait the Zarek hadn't accounted for. We adapt. Inside the Vanter, Reyna Holt received new orders. "You're boarding it?" asked Lin, incredulous. "We have no choice," Reyna answered, snapping her mag blade to her gauntlet. "We hit it from orbit and it lived. If that thing finishes unfolding, we're looking at a full incursion." "You're taking a team?" She shook her head. "I'm taking my team." Reyna's squad was called Spectre Black, a unit so secret that even Earth's governments had trouble finding their files. 12 soldiers. Each enhanced. Each selected from the void of classified black ops and off-world prisons. They were weapons with faces. As their dropship clamped to the still-shifting alien hull, the outer layer of the Harrowship pulsed, reacting. It knew they were there. No alarms. Just a single word etched into the hull in perfect English, glowing with internal heat. "Why did you wait?" Reyna stared at it and whispered, "Because we thought mercy was safer." Then she pressed forward. The air inside the Harrowship wasn't air. Reyna's suit filters kicked into overdrive the moment her boots touched the alien metal. Moisture condensed on the inside of her helmet, despite thermal regulation. Her HUD began to flicker, struggling to make sense of the environment. Pressure stable. Gravity, unstable, Sergeant Kofsky muttered from behind her. Shifts every 7 steps. And these walls are alive, Reyna cut in. I know. The interior of the Harrowship pulsed like a throat mid-swallow. Everything around them moved subtly, textures shifting like muscle under skin, reacting to sound, to heartbeats, to intention. No straight lines. No light sources. Only bioorganic ridges that throbbed in a dark rhythm. It was like walking through a dying god. And it didn't want them there. Behind Reyna, Spectre Black advanced in perfect formation. Sergeant Kofsky, Specialist Osei, Tech Ghost Lin, Sniper Calyx, 9 others. Each one handpicked not because they were the best, but because they had nothing left to lose. Pulse coming down the corridor, Lin warned, eyes buried in her sensor rig. Some kind of echolocation field. It's trying to map us. How do you know? Because it's calling our names. The sound hit them like cold steel through bone. Not voices. Echoes. Each of them heard it, whispers buried under syllables that didn't belong in human mouths. Mimicked voices from their past. Dead parents. Old lovers. Enemies they'd killed. Keep moving, Reyna ordered, jaw tight. Behind them, the corridor slowly sealed shut. Above orbit, Earth was holding, but only just. The Aegis Vanter had gone full reactive. Its AI WRM-9 had activated Directive Apex, unrestricted defense measures. It was now operating at levels no human engineer ever expected it to need. Quantum armor plating flared. Railguns fired in cyclical sweeps. Autonomized swarms patrolled low orbit, destroying every alien construct that attempted entry. But the Harrowship continued growing. It was feeding off something, tapping into deep space pathways, folding subdimensional layers into Earth's orbit like parchment. And now 2 more blips appeared beyond the moon. Not from Earth. Not from any known race. 2 other Harrowships. The seed had sent a signal. Earth was now marked. Inside the original Harrowship, Reyna reached a chamber that made her stop cold. It was massive, kilometers across, but the space bent in ways that made measurement meaningless. Floating platforms spun around a black core that pulsed in the void, each one linked to a humanoid figure, suspended mid-air, plugged into biomechanical roots. Are those humans? Whispered Osei. Some of the ones taken during the shard strikes. They were still alive. Barely. Mutated. Twisted. Their bones had been restructured. Skulls lengthened. Veins turned silver with circulating alien fluid. Yet some of them, some, were crying. Don't touch them, Reyna ordered. We're not here to save. We're here to destroy. But it was too late for some. One of the figures twitched, then screamed. And then they all did. The chamber exploded into motion. The mutated captives detached from their restraints and dropped to the platforms like feral beasts. Their bodies snapped and reshaped in midair, some forming wings, others barbed limbs, some splitting into 2-legged shadows that moved with impossible speed. They weren't drones. They weren't Zarek. They were human blueprints rewritten for extermination. And they were coming. Spectre Black opened fire. Osei's grav cannon lit up the air in a burst of concussive force, sending 3 hostiles tumbling off the platforms. Calyx dropped 2 more with antimatter rounds to the skull. Lin flooded the atmosphere with a scrambler field, breaking their internal comms. But it wasn't enough. Sergeant Kofsky went down, tackled by a creature that had once been his sister, lost years ago in the Endian collapse. She smiled as her claws tore into his armor. He detonated his fail-safe before she could finish. Reyna pushed forward, slicing through 2 attackers with her mag blade, eyes locked on the pulsing black core. That's the source, she growled. It's where the memory skin tech links. It's how they copy. How they replicate us. Calyx shouted, so how do we kill it? Reyna pulled a dark cylinder from her belt, thicker than standard charges. We give it something it's never copied. She slammed the package into the base of the core. An ember singularity. On Earth, alarms screamed. All Harrowship signatures are pulsing, shouted a tech at Defense Core 0. They're reacting to something inside the original. Boss leaned in. What did Reyna just do? Marrow's eyes widened as he saw the data spike. She gave it pain. The Ember Singularity was outlawed even on Earth. Not a bomb. Not even an explosion. It was event collapse technology, a device that created a microsingularity for 0.6 seconds, enough to crush a city block and then vanish without residue. It couldn't be shielded against. Couldn't be stopped. And it ate memory. As it activated, the black core screamed, not in sound but in thought. Every memory it had stolen, every voice it had copied, every neural echo it had cloned was ripped away. The Harrow ship shuddered across every axis. Its walls liquefied. Its stolen minds howled. Spectre Black didn't wait for confirmation. Get out! Reyna roared. Lynn triggered the extraction beacon. The Vanter's emergency tether slammed through orbit like a harpoon, anchoring to the interior hull. Spectre Black was yanked upward in a screaming magnetic arc as the Harrow ship imploded from the inside, reality folding like torn fabric. They shot free just as the singularity collapsed, dragging the core into oblivion. The Harrow ship stopped growing. But Earth's skies were already darkening. The other two had arrived. And they had seen everything. Inside the Vanter's war room, General Voss stood before the planetary defense map, arms crossed, face unreadable. We killed one, said Marrow, voice flat. But the galaxy's watching now. The Zarek aren't the only ones coming. Voss didn't look at him. She was staring at something else. Earth's long-range relays, radio silent for decades, were lighting up. Not messages. Not calls for help. Warnings. From species that once ignored Earth. From outposts that once voted against letting humanity into their wars. Now, one by one, they were lighting their beacons. Because the Harrow ships didn't just mark Earth. They broadcasted Earth's location. Earth was no longer hidden. No longer a rumor. No longer safe. Reyna stood in the Vanter's decontamination bay, armor scorched, eyes empty. How many did we lose? She asked. 5, said Lynn quietly. And 27 on the ground. And the rest? Still fighting. Reyna looked through the glass wall at the Earth below, still spinning. Still alive. We can't run anymore, she said. No, Voss's voice came through the overhead speaker. But we can make them regret finding us. Above Earth, the stars pulsed with threat. The two Harrow ships had arrived silently, drifting like omens, each many times the mass of the first. Their shapes weren't just alien. They were wrong. As if space itself bent to avoid them. And now they were watching. Humanity had destroyed their seed ship. That wasn't just a tactical loss. That was defiance. To beings who'd erased civilizations like erasing names in dust, this wasn't just a battle. It was an insult. Inside the Aegis Vanter, Reyna Holt stood at the center of the war deck, surrounded by holographic projections of Earth, the fleet and the alien entities circling above. Spectre Black, what remained of them, stood with her, scarred but upright. We don't have time to repair, Lynn said. They'll be in firing range in under 20 minutes. That's not enough. I'm not asking for enough, Reyna replied. I'm asking for everything. The room darkened as the Harrow ships powered up. Around their surfaces, tendrils of fractured light spun in orbital rings, charging weapons that Earth scientists didn't even have names for. But humanity didn't need names anymore. It needed answers. General Voss connected to the Vanter via secure quantum link. Her voice was sharp but quiet. The Galactic Accord just contacted us. The Varn Dominion. Enar Collective. 3 others. They all say the same thing. Reyna didn't need to ask. She knew. They want us to surrender. To apologize. Voss nodded slowly. They said Earth's destruction would be regrettable but understandable. That resistance will only anger them further. Reyna smiled coldly. Good. In orbit, Earth's last hidden weapons prepared to fire. Across the moon's surface, massive doors cracked open, revealing long-dormant mass drivers camouflaged in lunar rock. Built decades ago, they were part of Earth's secret final tier, Project Backfist, designed not to defend Earth but to erase attackers from the sky. Each cannon was miles long. Each fired tungsten rods at hypervelocity. A few rods wouldn't win a war, but they might buy just enough time. Firing sequence locked, WM9 announced aboard the Vanter. Targets acquiring. Harrow Ship 1 has deployed Spire beams. Defense window, 11.4 seconds. We won't last that long, Calyx growled. We don't have to, Reyna whispered. We just need to cut deeper than they think we can. She keyed her command interface. Link Vanter to global drone grid. Upload emergency override authorization. We're going all in. And then Earth answered. Not just the Vanter, not just the Moon, but every system. The old Mars test fleets rose from their silos. Jupiter's orbitals went live. Dozens of long-abandoned sky arrays, built in secret, in silence, waiting for this moment, lit up the heavens with kinetic strikes, energy beams, and hacking pulses designed to corrupt even the most alien of systems. Humanity had never been unprepared, only underestimated. The first Hero ship responded like a wounded god. It released its beams, 4 of them, pure entropy condensed into lances of annihilation. They struck Earth's exobarrier and punched through. Beijing's upper atmosphere boiled. A chunk of the Atlantic vaporized. One of Luna's cannons was destroyed in a single shot. But Earth didn't scream. It roared back. From the Vanter's forward bow, a device emerged, a folding structure the size of a skyscraper. It began to hum, emitting shockwaves that bent spacetime around it. Deploying Oblivion Engine, WRM-9 confirmed. This will destabilize the Hero ship's energy lattice. Good, Reyna said. Because I'm done talking. The engine pulsed once, then fired. There was no light, no sound, just absence. The nearest Hero ship recoiled as if punched by a star. Its outer tendrils folded. Its spires collapsed inward. For the first time, it hesitated. And then Earth pushed harder. Mass driver strikes from the Moon impacted seconds later. Tungsten rods slamming into the crippled alien hulk at 20,000 kilometers per hour. The Hero ship convulsed, then shattered. 1 billion tons of alien alloy vaporized in silence. But the second Hero ship learned. It shifted in response, evolving mid-battle, converting its shape into a crystalline sphere that no longer obeyed known physical laws. Its surface began projecting future attacks before they happened. Predictive countermeasures. Spatial inversion. Tactical folding. WRM-9, we need options. Reyna shouted. The AI paused, then said 3 words no one had ever wanted to hear. Use the relic. Everyone froze. The relic, codenamed Red Sigma, wasn't a weapon, was a thing. Recovered years ago from beneath Antarctica. Something older than the galaxy's war. Something not human, but something that listened to us. It didn't come from Earth, but it chose to stay on Earth. Voss cut in on the comms. Reyna, are you sure? No, Reyna whispered. But it's the only card they've never seen. And in this war? That mattered more than everything. At the core of the Vanter, beneath 10 layers of shielding, a sphere the size of a heart began to glow. It pulsed in alien rhythms, responding not to technology but to intention. The relic spoke. Not in words. In images. Visions of burned stars. Of worlds stripped clean. Of fighting back. It showed them what the Hero ships really were, not just weapons. Not ships. But probes of something larger. Something deeper. A consciousness. A hive of hunger. And the relic hated them. Reyna touched the sphere. The Vanter screamed. For a moment its system shut down. Then restarted, changed. Armor plating shifted into new formations. Cannons restructured. Its silhouette grew wrong, no longer built entirely by human hands. Now it was something else. Something Earth-born and alien-forged. Target that second Hero ship, Reyna said. Confirmed, WN9 replied, voice, different. The Vanter moved. It didn't fly. It blinked. And it appeared behind the Hero ship before physics had a chance to argue. The relic fired. Reality cracked. The second Hero ship split, not destroyed, but unwritten. Torn from the record of existence. It had been here. Then it hadn't. Not debris. Not explosion. Just gone. And in the silence that followed, the stars held their breath. Reyna stood at the Vanter's viewing deck watching space settle. No more Hero ships. No more pulses. No more war for now. We're not hidden anymore, she said. No, Voss replied from Earth. But we're not small either. Messages began flooding in from across the galaxy. Ships rerouting. Councils panicking. Offers being drafted. The very species that once ignored Earth were now afraid of it. And humanity wasn't looking for allies. It was choosing terms. Reyna turned to Spectre Black. Lynn Calyx, the survivors. Each one bloodied. Each one unbroken. You ready for what comes next? She asked. Calyx grinned. We were born ready. We just needed someone to start the fire. And now the galaxy burned with questions. Who are the humans really? Why did they stay silent for so long? And the one question no species dared to speak aloud. What else are they hiding? Humanity had shown its teeth. And now the stars would never forget Earth again. If you felt the fire rise as Earth finally stood up and made the galaxy listen, then join the resistance. Subscribe to the Void Narratives for more humanity-first sci-fi stories that shake the stars. There are more invasions coming. More secrets buried in Earth's shadow. And more truths waiting in the dark. We're just getting started. You won't want to miss.